Hello everyone, welcome to Sharmit. In this session, we are going to talk about another very important topic related to medical coding anatomy, where we will be mainly discussing about the pleura serous membrane. If you remember, in our last session we talked about what is serous membrane and how many types of serous membrane are there, right? Now, one by one we will go through each type and try to understand it in detail, like what it is and how it works. Okay, so mainly in this session we will talk about what is pleura serous membrane, what is pleural cavities, what is pleural fluid, and how it is utilized in medical coding. But before we proceed further with this session, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released session first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow it sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic, because for time being we are just mainly focusing on pleura serous membrane. But prior to that, you should know what is serous membrane and other things related to medical coding and anatomy that we have already covered. Okay, so if you know that these things, then things would be much more easier for you. And for that, you can also refer the Sharmit digital course book, which is freely available in the description box. There you will find thousands of sessions available in both Hindi as well as English language. So without any language barrier, you can easily consume the content. And in case if you have any queries or questions related to that, feel free to reach out to me through comment section. I would be more than happy to answer all your questions there. Okay. Alright, so let's get started and see what is pleura serous membrane. So we'll start from the definition itself. Here you can see I have clearly noted down the definition. It's a serous membrane of the pleural cavity. So the definition is: the pleura is a serous membrane that lines the right and left pleural cavities and covers the lungs. Okay, so it's a serous membrane that particularly covers the left and right pleural cavities and covers the lungs. So you can conclude that pleura is the serous membrane surrounding the each lung. Okay, so this thing is clear, like what it basically does, what it basically cover. But how many types of pleura are there? So for that, you can see I have created this table. So majorly we have two layers of pleura. The first is parietal pleura, that lines the inner wall of the thoracic cavity and the upper surface of the diaphragm, also called as outer layer. Second layer is visceral pleura, which is directly covers the outer surface of the lung, which is also known as pulmonary pleura. Okay, so this is how these are the two layers that majorly defines the pleura, layers of the pleura. Now this is very important term, the pleural space and pleural fluid, because sometime in interview also, like, they might ask you the question what is pleural space and what is pleural fluid. So in that case you can answer in this way. Firstly, we will talk about the pleural space. The pleural space, also called as the pleural cavity, is a small potential space between the parietal and visceral pleura. Okay, so we talked about two layers, parietal pleural layer and visceral pleural layer, right? So the space, very small potential space between these two, parietal and visceral pleura, is called as pleural space. Okay, it is called pleural space, and sometimes we also refer it as a pleural cavity. Now it also contains a thin film of pleural fluid, approximately 5 to 15 ml in each pleural space normally. Okay, so this kind of fluid, this kind of liquid which is surrounded over these layer is approximately a 5 to 15 ml in the pleural space, which we talked here, pleural cavity. Okay, so it contains this thin film of pleural fluid. But why it is used? So this fluid allow the lungs to expand and contract smoothly during the breathing without the friction. So we all know that at the time of breathing our lungs contract and expand, okay, frequently according to the breath. So in that situation it should not, just to make sure there is no friction, we like this fluid is utilized there. Okay, alright, now we will see what are the functions of pleura, like what are the major function of the pleura. First is reduced friction, which we just discussed. So during the breathing, it allows lungs to expand and contract with each breath. Creates negative pressure in the pleural space that helps keeps the lungs expanded against the chest wall. Okay, so it also helps to create this negative pressure. Third is very important, which is compartmentalization, because it compartmentalizes the right and the left lungs. A problem so that a problem in one lung does not automatically affect the second lungs. Okay, so this is very important. Otherwise you can think like if one portion of the lung, maybe left lung or right lung, is affected by some infection, so if there is no proper compartmentalization, it will affect the second lung as well. Okay, so these are the major functions of the pleura. Now we will talk about the basic structure of the pleura, like what are the structure. So like all serous membrane, the pleura has two layers. The layer one is for parietal pleura, which is defined like this. Parietal means wall. It lines the inner wall of the thoracic cavity. It is attached to the chest wall, not to the lung. Okay, sometime in interview they might ask you where it is connected. Okay, so you can say it is attached to the chest wall, not to the lung. It is the outer layer of the pleura. Second layer is visceral pleura, which is an organ which directly covers the outer surface of the lung. It is tightly attached to the lung surface and cannot be separated from it without damaging the lung tissue. Okay, so it is directly connected. It cannot be separated, and if we try to separate it, it will damage the lung tissue. It is also called as pulmonary pleura. So just remember these names. Okay, sometime in interview might they might ask you the question, what is pulmonary pleura? So you have to explain it's a second layer visceral pleura, and then you can explain that it is a inner layer of the pleura. Okay, so always remember these kind of alternative name. Now next we have pleural space. I think we have already covered this part, so we can skip it for now, and we'll go to the important concept, which is related to right and left pleura. So we all know that each lung has its own separate pleural sac. The right lung is surrounded by the right pleura within the right pleural cavity. The left lung is surrounded by the left pleura within the left pleural cavity. These two pleural sac are completely separate from each other so that they do not communicate. And this separation is very important, as we discussed, like if one part is infected, it should not infect the second part. Clear? So that's why these are the important concepts that we should know about the pleura sac and pleura layers. Okay, now there are few divisions of parietal pleura, so we should know about these division. The first, you can see the parietal pleura is continuous sheet but is divided into named region based on which structure it is lining. So let's see one by one what are the division, location and line. The first is costal pleura, lines the inner surface of ribs, sternum and intercostal muscle. So what it lines? It basically lines the chest wall, inner chest wall. Next is diaphragmatic pleura. It lines the superior surface of the diaphragm, top of the diaphragm. Next is mediastinal pleural, lines the lateral surface of the mediastinum, side of the mediastinum. After that we have cervical pleura, which extends slightly above the level of the first rib into the root of the neck. Superior most part projects into the neck. Okay, so here I have also noted down this statement that cervical pleura is clinically important because it expands into the neck. A step wound to the lower neck can potentially enter to the pleural cavity and cause a pneumothorax. It is also important in surgery of the neck and chest inlet region. Okay, so these are just things that you should know at least, so that you can answer the things when we are explaining the divisions and situations. Now let's see how it is utilized in medical coding. So we will just see a few of the terminology related to it. Like first is pleuritis. Pleuritis means inflammation of the parietal pleura. Then we have pleural effusion, excess fluid in the pleural space. Then we have transudative effusion, that is nothing but a pleural effusion caused by the pressure imbalance. Then we have exudative effusion, which is nothing but a pleural effusion caused by the inflammation or infection. Now we all know that we have learned so many things, so how we will remember it? So for that I have here I have provided a memory tip. So you can see, think of pleural like a double wall plastic bag around each lung. The outer wall, which is parietal pleural, attached to the chest wall, and the inner wall, which is visceral pleura, it's attached to the lung. A tiny bit of moisture between the walls, which is called as pleural fluid, which is for the lubrication purpose, and the two walls are held together by the surface tension. So keeping the surface, keeping the lung expanded against the chest wall. Okay, that is also needed. So if the air gets into the bag between the walls, the surface tension is broken, and the lung collapse, pneumothorax. So these are the all things that you should remember. And just to provide you some interview questions and tips, I am also providing you the question, and today's question is, what is serous membrane? Because if you don't know the answer of this question, then you won't be able to answer the other part related information, because we are currently focusing on the parts of the serous membrane. So prior to that, you should know about these things, like what are the types of serous membrane. Clear? So I think this part is clear. And also, when you are sharing the answer of these questions, it is instructing me that you guys are learning from these series, and according to that I will release more sessions on medical coding and anatomy. So more you write the comment here, accordingly I will release the sessions. So yeah, that's all for today. See you in the next session with new topics. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.